Are you ready to learn the top productivity secrets that I've learned working from home in the last 10 years? If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Lai Lacaba. I've been working from home since I was 15 years old and now run my own virtual assistant company 2XU. And I post videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home. So make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos. Now, when it comes to being productive in general or just getting things done, I've kind of just tried almost everything under the sun, almost every hack. I've studied a lot, and when I mean I studied a lot of books, I mean a lot of books. There's just more than that bookshelf right behind me and this books. So I've kind of been really trying to find what makes sense for me, what has made sense for others, as well as I've kind of coached a lot of our employees into XU and getting to that point where you can get comfortable when it comes to getting things done. So I'm going to walk you guys through the top lessons that I've learned if you're just looking for ways to up your productivity or just create better productivity systems for yourself so you can be sustainable. So this is not something that will burn you out. So this is something that you can do for the long run. First lesson is that everyone has their own pace. And also just a bonus, I guess, everyone has their own pace depending on the project. So this is something that I kind of had to learn a little bit of the hard way, is that everyone has their own pace, they have their own way of doing things, and just because something works for me doesn't mean that's going to work for you or the next person. So as I'm going through a lot of these productivity tips for you guys, just keep that in mind. Just because, again, it worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for what it also means is things that you've done in the past, even if they work for you perfectly, doesn't mean that it's going to work for you now. You've changed, you've evolved, you have new coping mechanisms, you have new things that you like to do. So just because things worked in previous projects doesn't mean that they're always going to work for you moving forward. One project you might be working on it super productively, you can get it done, and some you need a little bit of a push, you need a little bit of momentum, and that's normal. The key is to find a pace that makes it make sense, that you're able to hit your deadlines, hit the things that you need to do in your career or in your business. And again, it also just goes into just experimenting and finding what works. Next is the biggest productivity hack, to be honest, rest. That has been one of the key things. So this is coming from someone who likes hustle culture. This is coming from someone who has burnt out, who has cried through getting work done just because I needed to get the work done. And that was me. That was because I set that as part of my personality trait in my early 20s and mid 20s. Now in my late 20s, I wanted to do that work because I knew that I could never be that phase of my life to get again where I could make mistakes and not have a lot of consequences. And I then just kept having to learn and relearn that rest is essential and is key when it comes to being productive. I knew that on days where I didn't have enough sleep, that day would just suck for me. And days where I was able to get enough sleep, not oversleeping as well, that I knew that I can get a lot of things done that day. So rest is essential. Don't rest when you're burning out. Make it part of your productivity. So for example, for me, I would put in naps when I burnt myself out, or just when I know that I have a long day ahead. If I had a good hour in between meetings or in between work that I need to get done, I will take 30-minute naps right on my bed and then have just a timer set. And I know that when I wake up, I'm refreshed. Rest doesn't always have to mean a nap as well. Rest can be reading a book. It's one of the things I like to do. Rest could be just watching an episode of a series that you like, just kind of relax yourself and kind of distance yourself from the work, from your computer, from your grind. So that is kind of one of the things that I've really kind of made embedded part of my life. And if you guys watch any of my Instagram stories, I always remind you guys that rest matters. So keep in mind that that is something that is going to be really helpful for your productivity moving forward as well. Next is have a dedicated space. What I mean by having a dedicated space is you have a place in your house that you're able to get work done. So even as you're working from home, I've said this in other videos before, of just the importance of having a place just for working. It's not in, a place where you usually would sleep or eat. It's a place where you've separated that you know that this is a place for you to get things done. So even if it's just a corner in your house, a corner in your room, just a place that you know that when you sit in this place, in this space, that you are here to be productive, to work. So cultivating that, creating that, I have a lot more tips on that if you guys want to know more. But that is one of the just quick, this is my space to get work done. This is my space to have this kind of energy, helps kind of put your mind in that mindset. Next is routine is essential. So I've said this again in other videos of how important it is to have a routine to start and end your day. When you're working from home, it's easy for the lines to blur from one day to the other. So having a morning routine and an evening routine to separate yourself from work mode is going to help you again have that sustainability of being able to keep working. So for example, again, for me, my morning routine, I meditate, I journal, I start my day at a soft, slower pace because I know most of my day are probably going to be back-to-back meetings or focusing on different projects in 2XU. So then I know also in the evening, as I kind of disconnect, I will look through my emails one more time if there's anything urgent. Then I will actually start disconnecting. I'll close the tabs that I was working on. I would pop on a show. I would do my skincare routine and then know that I'm winding down throughout my day. I might even go for a walk just to really have that separation between work mode and now I am me mode. Next is priorities will always change. So just kind of expect it. And this is one of the things that as a business owner, I have really had to learn hardcore is that just because I decided, hey, we're going to focus on ABC this week doesn't mean that it will actually get done. And you have to be kind of comfortable and okay with it because there's always going to be things where we overestimated on what are the things that we wanted to do that week. And of course, throughout that week, there's going to be things that will pop up, things that will die down, things that are not relevant anymore from Monday to Friday. So you have to learn how to really just adjust really fast because that's always going to be wherever you are, whether you're an entrepreneur or you have a career. Things will always change because demands of the business will change, the industry might change, the trend might change. So it's always better to know and expect it, but always to keep yourself focused on what you can actually control or focus on. Speaking of just things that you can focus on, is one thing that's helped me a lot is what you track, you can change. What I mean by this if you don't already have a task tracker for yourself, it's really important to set one up. Now, I will put down a link for a mini version of what my task tracker looks like. Later on, I'll be developing this into an actual product for you guys on Notion templates on how I do certain things in my life and my business. But you guys can just look at your task tracker as you need a place where you can put in or dump your ideas. So this is coming from, again, the book, Getting Things Done. I've also mentioned this in a lot of other videos, but a place for you to put in your task to be able to then prioritize what you want to do this week or today, what's upcoming, what are the things that you are doing, what are things that you're waiting for other people. So this is something that you can't move forward without other people's involvement. And also as well, just a way for you to quickly just track what are things we're able to get done, what are things that I was hoping to get done at the beginning of the week and I wasn't able to get to, and why. So then you're able to analyze and actually see what are the things that you were hoping to get done in that week and be able to adjust for the next week as it needed. Then this is one of the ways that you can really have that control or just focus on productivity is when you can track the things that you actually need to get done and the things that you still want to do later on as well. Which brings me to my next point of thinking of checklists or task trackers as a tool. And this is coming from someone who I've experimented a lot on a lot of different tools. I've used Google Tasks, I've used Asana, I've used Trello, I've used so many tools, but one thing always stays the same is I had a checklist of the things that I wanted to get done. And this is important because it becomes a tool for you, again, to become more productive and to know what you're supposed to be focusing on next. But the other side of having a checklist is then when you get to the point where you can have that checklist as part of your processes. So as a really good example for email management, there's going to be processes that you will go through when you're managing your own email or your client's email. So having a checklist of the process is going to help you streamline that so much faster versus just, you know what email management is and you're just kind of going through the motions versus if you had a checklist of the things that you want to make sure that you do while you're managing that email. Now, of course, that's just one example of a lot of different processes that you can create checklists for. But again, it can help streamline that whole process for you versus just, again, having that just a one-liner there. Next is, and again, this probably might not be for everyone, but one thing that has helped me a lot is time blocking. What time blocking is, if you've never heard of it, is assigning about 20 minutes to almost an hour of your time on your calendar for a specific project or task, especially if it's a priority task or project basically that you need to get done. So what this could look like on my own calendar is I actually have it on there of write book. So right now, currently I'm I'm writing my book on how to hire and manage superstar, basically kind of virtual assistants. So the way that I've been doing that is on my calendar. I have it right there where for an hour I'm supposed to be writing. Now, does it mean that I'm always writing? Probably not always, but I have it blocked so that nothing else gets scheduled on here, nothing else gets added, and I will do this for almost all of the major projects that I'm working on. So another project that I'm working on right now is creating a whole like Notion page for all of you guys to later on be able to put it up and basically sell as a product. So then I have blocked on my calendar as well of when I want to work on that. So it becomes this, hey, I know what I'm working on next. It eliminates a lot of the guessing game. And again, it helps me just focus on like, this is the thing I'm supposed to be working on right at this moment. And again, need to still be flexible of keeping in mind things can change, priorities can change. So then I do have that slot kind of flexible on what I need to focus on for that day. But again, it reminds me what I'm supposed to be working on right at that moment. Next, and this is an advice that I wish someone told me probably like 2-3 years ago, is pace your meetings. If you're someone who is in meetings a lot, try to pace yourself and put in breaks as much as you can. It's going to be very tiring if you're in one meeting after the other. And this is something that I have kind of just learned as a muscle that I can do it. But for some people, I really advise that you put some sort of a break in between as much as possible so you don't, again, burn yourself out. We're all about sustainability here. We're all about doing this for the long term. So as much as possible, pace your meetings where you have a break in between. You're able to work on other things rather than just always looking in Zoom, looking at a web camera, and not even having time to actually get work done. Next is a very important one, which is make mistakes, learn from them, and then move on. And this is something that people usually get stuck on when it comes to their productivity, is when they make a mistake, they think about it too much, and then that kind of stops them. They're not moving. Or on the other side is they move on too fast. They forget the middle part, which is learn from it, and then they will make the mistake again later on. So it's really important that you do those 3 steps of it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them and then move on to the next thing. That way you carry that lesson with you moving forward. And this applies to a lot of tasks, a lot of projects, and a lot of the things when it comes to getting things done is getting that mindset basically of I am the kind of person who, yes, I will make mistakes, I will learn from them, and I will then move on to the next thing that I'm supposed to be working on rather than being stuck and boxed in because I made a mistake. Next, and this is more of just figuring out and like experimenting, has a lot of experimenting, is keep in mind that you need to use tools to make things easier. If you have tools that make it harder for yourself, that are bugged out a lot, that you have to keep restarting, that's probably not the tool for you. But when it comes to your productivity, you have to find one that works for you, that makes your life easier. I've just kind of defaulted to using Notion nowadays just because it does make my life easier having things in one place. Whether it's my personal stuff or 2XU business stuff, I have it all in one place. I can easily find things that I need. It doesn't take me a lot of clicks to be able to get to where I want to be. So find tools that make your life easier. That's going to make, of course, your productivity just skyrocketing. And finally, one of the biggest things that I've learned myself when it comes to keeping myself productive, pacing myself, and just having a really sustainable work life is celebrating wins. Now, earlier I walked you guys through, make mistakes, learn from it, move on. When you finish a task, when you finish a project, you really need to keep in mind to celebrate, also learn from it, and then move on. This is something people usually skip when they finish a task. They're like, oh, okay, next one. But then there's always that thing that you probably learned, and there's also always just actually celebrating it. And this is something that as you start working, as you kind of get into the flow or into the pace, we do tend to forget. But it's one of the ways that we build our own identity of I am the kind of person who gets things done because I celebrate it. It's part of my identity. So find little ways that you can reward yourself, that you have something to look forward to whenever you're doing tasks or projects. So for example, for me, I try to put in a little trip at the end of quarters or at the beginning of quarters, depending on where I'm at. And the reason why I do that is like, hey, I want to finish the projects that I've set on for this quarter, and at the very end of it, I have a trip I'm looking forward to. So adding your, celebrate your wins and adding in a little, add something to look forward to, it's going to help, again, that sustainability, that long run of being able to keep working from home. Now, if you guys like these tips, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there and comment below what other lessons or what kind of other types of videos do you guys want me to see of things that I can break down for you guys of how basically I've kind of lived working working from home in the last 10 years. Now, if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out those two playlists right here and the latest video right here. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!